Friends, we will continue with our discussion on section 153, time limit for completion of the assessment. We so far covered 153.1, 153.2, 153.2a. Of course, under section 153.2a, what we said, in case if the assessment is cancelled or set aside by an order of income tax appellate authority or the revisionary powers under section 263 and 264, what we said, that is under section 254, in case if the assessment order is cancelled, then the time limit for completing such a fresh assessment is 9 months from the end of the financial year in which such order is received, whereas in case if the fresh assessment is made because of revision under 263 or 264, 9 months from the end of the financial year in which such order of cancellation and fresh assessment is made by the CIT. In that context, what we said is, like, there is no need for giving a fresh notice, but in case if the assessing officer want to go through some more documents and books, on a plain paper he can write to the assessee and require him to give such information. Write down: for making fresh assessment, assessing officer shall call upon the assessee, by issuing a notice on plain paper, asking him to produce the books of accounts and documents. Right. Now, in this context, one more thing that we need to remember here is Finance Act 2007 amended these sections of 153.1, 153.2, 153.2a. In situation of transfer pricing, where the assessing officer need to determine the arm length price, definitely the time period will be increased by 12 more months than what is being permitted. So now, as a result of this, what will happen, friends? Naturally, under section 153.1, we have got 21 months, isn't it, or not? 12 plus 9, 22 months. Now one more 12 months being added, the number of months from the end of the relevant assessment year will be 33 months. Whereas for reassessment under section 147, the period is 9 months from the end of the financial year in which that notice was served. Whereas in the case of determination of the arm length price, in case if that is involved, this time limit is being extended from 9 months plus 12 months means 21 months. For this 153 2a, that is where the assessment is cancelled or set aside, also to that 9 months, if you add 12 months, it goes to 21 months. So write down that is section 153(1), comma 153(2) and 153(2)(a). 153(2)(a) have been amended by Finance Act 2007, have been amended by Finance Act 2007, where a reference has been made to transfer pricing officer under section 92CA to determine arm length price, comma, the time period for completion of assessment, oblique reassessment shall be increased by 12 months. There is another section, friends, 153(3). What is this 153(3)? Of course, so far you have studied the situations where there is a time limit. But there are certain situations where without any time limit you can complete the assessment. What are those situations? See, try to understand. Sometimes it may not be a case like cancellation and setting aside of the original assessment order. It may involve a simple direction. In a particular case, income of one assessment year need to be shifted to the another assessment year, as a result of which you need to bring changes in both the assessment years completed assessments, or income is wrongly assessed and included in one assessee's hands when actually it is to be taxed in others' hands. And for that particular purpose, if the direction is given by appellate authorities or the ITAT or the court, then there is no time limit. Who said so? 153(3) says. But this does not mean that in all situations where ITAT passes an order or Supreme Court gives an order asking the assessee to cancel and set aside, then that time limit which we have discussed in 153(2)(a continue to have a application is a point to be well understood. Write down. Section 153(3). Section 153(3). In case 153(3), clause A, like 153(3)(a). In case the assessment is not cancelled, in case the assessment is not cancelled oblique set aside, but a direction is given under, section 250, 254, 264, as a result of which income of any assessment year escapes assessment, then there is no time limit for making assessment oblique reassessment. See, our point is very clear. 153(2)(a) has got application where assessment order is set aside or cancelled. Other than that situation, in case to give the effect to any direction given by the different authorities in the stated sections, there is no time limit. Similarly, friends, of course, already I explained what might be the possible situation. Income of one assessee wrongly assessed in one hand can be shifted to the another person, or income of one assessment year might be shifted to the another. In such situations, once a direction comes to complete or to give effect to such direction, there is no time limit. See, a firm's case is taken up for section 147 and reassessment happened. Consequent to that, naturally partners' individual return also will undergo a change. Then in that situation also what we say, that a time limit which we discuss do not have any application, and you can make a note of this point also. Section 153(3)(b), section 153(3)(b) provides that assessment oblique reassessment on the partner can be made, at any time, in consequence of assessment, oblique reassessment of the partnership firm, under section 147. Then few more important notes that you need to be with. The period during which the assessment proceeding is stayed by an order or injunction of the court. See, there are certain periods which need to be excluded while computing this particular time limit which we have discussed. Definitely this is one very important area from the examination point of view. What are the specific exclusions from the time limits which are prescribed therein? Because the whole lot of assessment proceeding might got disturbed. Like there is a change in the incumbency of the office. Similarly, somebody might have approached the court and got a stay order, or somebody might have given an application stating that this is already pending before the High Court or Supreme Court. That is, a similar issue is being pending before the High Court or Supreme Court. So I will accept for whatever the High Court or Supreme Court said related to the last year even to this year, and by giving a due consideration to this point you complete the assessment bolke, and then the assessing officer need to examine the contention of the SSC and decide upon whether he can accept that particular request or not. Sometimes the accounts may be so complex that tax audit need to be, special tax audit need to be ordered. Then there will be some time which might be lost in that particular process. These are all the possible reasons. Similarly, somebody might be saying that I am thinking of going to the settlement commission and made an application to the settlement commission. When the regular assessment proceedings are on, approached the settlement commission, then naturally there will be some time which is lost. In case if the settlement commission rejects the application from the date of the SSC making a application to the date of rejection, here the assessment proceedings are getting stopped. So naturally the time is to be excluded. Similarly, friends, the matter might be there before the authority for advance rulings. So in all these situations, naturally what will happen, friends? Naturally the assessment proceeding is getting disturbed. So law is kind enough to say that all these periods shall be excluded while calculating the time limit. So write down the most important aspect of our discussion, that is exclusion from the time limits for completion of assessment, for completion of the assessment. So now, first point number 1, the period during which assessment proceeding is stayed by an order or injunction of the court, Number 2, time taken for reopening the whole or any part of the proceedings or in giving an opportunity to the SSC, to be reheard, See, this is under section 129. That is under section 129 what it says, friends. Let us suppose there is a change in the incumbency office. That is, new incumbent came. Old person who is looking at your case got transferred and a new person came. Naturally, he will take some time to get to the understanding of your case, and you should be given an opportunity of being heard, reheard. So naturally, whatever the time lost, that should be excluded while calculating the time limits which are prescribed under section 153. Similarly, an assessing officer may intimate to the government, central government, stating that a particular institution to which you gave exemption benefit is not operating subjected to the conditions based on which you gave the exemption. After this, assessing officer informs to the central government will take time to decide whether to withdraw the exemption or not. So whatever the time lost in that process also shall be excluded while calculating this particular time limit. Right now. Third is the period commencing from the date. The period commencing from the date. Assessing officer intimates the central government regarding contraventions of the provisions subjected to which exemption is given under section 10 and ending with the date on which copy of order withdrawing the approval is received by the assessing officer. Then fourth one, that is, in your case special tax audit is being ordered, then the time lost in that process also is to be excluded. Write down the period commencing from the date. On which assessing officer directs the SSC to get his accounts audited under section 142(2)(a) and ending with the date on which SSC is required to furnish a report of audit under section 142 2A. Under section 142 2A. Then friends, one more exclusion already which we have discussed is, in case if the SSC gives a declaration stating that I am ready to accept whatever the Supreme Court or the High Court says in my case on a similar issue last year, even the same issue is there in this year, and please don't complete the assessment in the way in which you have done last year, because then that makes me to again go for an appeal even this year also. So kindly wait in respect of that particular issue till such time the High Court or Supreme Court gives its judgment related to that issue last year. Then assessing officer will take some time to go through the application and decide whether what SSC is saying is correct or not. Is it required that he should accept such kind of a declaration? For that some time period will be lost, that is also to be excluded. But in any case, whatever the exclusion for this purpose cannot exceed more than the 60 days. Declaration देने के बाद उन्हों 60 days के अंदर ही complete कर देना, accepting or rejecting that declaration. Write down. The period brackets, not exceeding 60 days, not exceeding 60 days, commencing from the date on which, assessing officer received a declaration under section 158A. Assessing officer received a declaration under section 158A and ending with the date on which order is passed. Of course, such order could be either accepting it or could be a rejecting order. Then friends, that is if the reference is made to the authority for advance ruling. Of course, we will discuss authority for advance ruling and settlement commission subsequent to the assessment procedures. So try to understand, if application is made to the authority for advance ruling to pronounce or to give a clarity on a particular aspect, then whatever the time that is lost in the process from the date of making application to the authority for advance ruling to the date it disposes of such application, whatever the time lost, that must be excluded. Write down that also. The period commencing from the date on which application is made before authority for advance ruling and ending with the date on which order rejecting the application, the date on which order rejecting the application is received by the commissioner, So these are the specific exclusions. After you exclude all these periods from the said time limit, if the remaining time that is left to the assessing officer to complete the assessment falls below 60 days, then the period will be extended by the said shortfall is a point. Of course, after excluding all these periods from that particular time periods which are specified therein, if still the period that is left for completing the assessment is 60 days, be happy. If it is below 60 days, then extend it to the 60 days. Not by 60 days. Extend it to the 60 days. Write that. In all the above cases, comma, where immediately after excluding, the above periods, above time periods, comma, the period of limitation, available to the assessing officer, for making assessment or reassessment is less than 60 days, then such remaining period shall be extended to 60 days, and above said periods shall be deemed to be extended accordingly. Above said periods shall be deemed to be extended accordingly. See, if you look at an example for this, probably you will be able to well appreciate what the point of exclusion of the times. Take a small example. For the assessment year 2007 and 8, assessment proceedings were going on. Under section 143.3. Under section 143.3. The SSC challenges the assessment proceeding in High Court. Then the High Court granted stay on 1/12/2009 against the assessment proceedings. Then the writ petition of the SSC is dismissed. The writ petition of the SSC is dismissed on 10/1/2010. And the stay is vacated on this date. And the stay is vacated on this date. What is the time limit for completion of the assessment? For completion of the assessment under section 143(3). Under section 143(3). See friends, first you should know what is actually the time period. Already we discussed under 153(1), time limit for completion of the assessment is given in a case where it is being taken up for regular assessment under 143(3). And we said it is how many months? 21 months from the end of the assessment year. What is the end of the assessment year here? For the assessment year 2007 and 8. 2007 and 8 assessment year ends on which date? 31st March 2008 it ends. From there 21 months means what? 2009 tak 1 year, 12 months. That means 31st December 2009, in the normal course, the due date for completing the assessment is 31/12/2009. But what the SSC did, on 1/12/2009 he approached the court and asked the court to give a stay against this particular assessment proceeding. Naturally what happened friends? That is, the assessment proceedings got stopped. Otherwise the assessing officer would have completed the assessment by 31/12/2009. And again the court vacated that particular stay order by dismissing the application of the SSC on which date? On 10/1/2010. So how many days are being lost? Almost 41 days. How come 41 days are lost? That is 1/12/2009 to 10/1/2010 means 41 days are lost. So what you are asked to do is, what is the normal course, the due date? Normal course, the due date is 31/12/2009. To that, whatever the time lost because of stay order or injunction order given by the court, that you add. So to the 31/12/2009, if you add that 41 days, what will happen friends? That is, the day will come to 10/2/2010. It will come to 10/2/2010. But then what is happening? Since the time period for making assessment under section 143(3) from 11/1/2010 is less than 60 days, the assessment under section 143(3) can be made up to 11/3/2010 is the point. That means, if because of this particular exclusion, the time period to complete the assessment falls below 60 days, then it will be extended by 60 days is what our point. In the normal course, yes, the assessment should be completed by 31/12/2009. This fellow has approached on 1/12/2009 to the court. Court has taken 41 days to decide. Consequent to those days being last, now naturally this particular period will be excluded. 41 days will be excluded. But because of such exclusion, what is happening? The period is coming below the 60 days. So when the assessment proceeding again can get started only after the court has vacated that particular stay. When the court vacated the stay, on what is it? 11/1. Right. So shall we permit only 41 days? No. Shall we permit whatever the time that is being last, only let we permit only those many days for the assessing officer? No. What is stated in the law clearly, in case because of all these exclusions, the time now available for the assessing officer to complete the assessment in any way falls below the 60 days, extend this by 60 days. So 60 days from which date you have to calculate? From the day when the order is vacated. When the order is vacated, that particular 11/1. From 11/1, 60 days means 11/3/2010. Develop the answer. The time period to complete the assessment is 21 months from the end of the assessment year. 21 months from the end of the relevant assessment year. That is for the assessment year 2007 and 8, last date to complete the assessment will be 31/12/2009. Then next point, time lost due to stay order. Time lost due to stay order, that is from 1/12/2009 to 10/1/2010 is 41 days. Is 41 days. Thus, the period shall be extended. Up to 10/2/2010. 10/2/2010. How come 10/2/2010, friends? How come 10/2/2010? What is the due date for completing the assessment? 31/12. From this 41 days means what? In January 31 days are there. February 10 days. So what should happen by 10/2/2010? But although it is 10/2/2010, there is an exception. What we said, the time available for me to complete the assessment falls below 60 days, then the time must be extended by 60 days is what I said. Here what is happened? 41 days आप add करें तो 31/12 को the date is coming on 10/2/2010, no doubt. But again it falls into the next exception. If the time available is below 60 days, then you extend it by 60 days. Extended it to 60 days. So that made us to say, write down, since the time period for making the assessment, under section 143.3, as on 11/1/2010, what is the importance of that 11/1/2010? The date when the court vacated the order. 11/1, what is it? The court, when it vacated the stay order on 11/1/2010. Then only again the assessing officer can start the proceedings. But if you look at from 11/1/2010, your 10/2/2010, what happened, friends? The time available is less than, what is it? 60 days. Got the point? So that made us to say, write down, is less than 60 days. Is less than 60 days. Thus, assessment under section 143.3, thus assessment under section 143.3 can be made up to 11/3/2010. 11/3/2010. See, all these things can be well appreciated by taking the same case and shifting the dates. Right? Write down next example. Suppose in the above example, stay is vacated on 27/1/2010. 27/1/2010. Then what is the period for? Completion of the assessment. Now friends, look at the point here. In the normal course, when the assessment is to be completed? On 31/12/2009 it is to be completed. What is the time lost in the process of court deciding whether to accept the SSC's plea or not? When the SSC approached the court on 1/12/2009, when the court gave its judgment stating that the stay will be vacated on 27/1/2010. That means 58 days. That is entire December month. That is 31 days. Plus in the January month, how many days? 27 days. Put together 58 days. 58 days are lost. 58 days are lost means you have to extend this particular period by how many days? 58 days. Now if you extend this by 58 days, what will be the extended due date in the normal course? 31/12/2009 say 58 days means January 31 and February 27. Put together 58 days. तो February 27 तक complete करना. But February 27 तक complete करना बोले तो again from which date you have to count? From which date you have to count? That is the day when the stay order is vacated. 27/1/2010 से लेके that 27/2/2010 10, if you look at, the period falls below 30 days, below 60 days. Accordingly, the period must be extended by 60 days. Write down how the answer is to be developed. In the normal course, due date to complete the assessment is 31/12/2009. Then period lost due to stay by the court, period lost due to stay by the court, 58 days. Kaisa 58 days? 1/12/2009 to, what is it friends? 27/1/2010. Now, thus we should extend the due date, we should extend the normal due date by 58 days. That is 31/12/2010 plus 58 is equal to 27/2/2010. Now, time available to the assessing officer from 28/1/2010 to 27/2/2010 27/2/2010 is less than 60 days. Thus, period shall be extended to 60 days. Thereby, extended period of limitation will be 28/1/2010 plus 60 days, that is 28/3/2010, that is 28/3/2010. See friends, more or less first example and second example appears to be of similar nature. So naturally what we should do, we take something which deviates from these two examples. Take that fast. Continuing with the first example, let us suppose stay is vacated on 25/2/2010. On 25/2/2010. See, in that case, how do you look at? What is the normal due date, friends? 31/12/2010. Write down. Normal due date, 31/12/2010. Then time lost due to stay, 87 days. How come 87 days, friends? 1/12/2009 to 25/2/2010, when the court vacated the stay, 87 days are lost. Now, right? that is extended period for making the assessment, is to be computed in the following manner. That is, from the date of stay being vacated, that is, when the stay is vacated, friends, when the stay is vacated 25 to 2010, so from 26 to 2010, from 26 to 2010, 60 days, that is up to 26/4/2010, up to 26/4/2010. That means in any case, period cannot be extended beyond 60 days. Even if the time last is more than 60 days, that period can be extended only up to 60 days. If the time last is below 60 days, maximum then also can be extended only up to 60 days is the point. If the time lost is below 60 days, you extend it and see from the date of vacation of the order to the date of extension. If the period falls below 30 days, extend it to 30 days. So that way you are supposed to look into the matter, and with that, only thing is you need to solve many more problems, because it's a very, very fertile area from the examination point of view. At PE2 level, there could be a chance of asking a question of write the specific exclusions from the time period. But at the final level, they will give a situation like this and will check whether you are able to apply what provision you have done to that particular practical situation. Of course, the 3 examples which I gave will not suffice. Definitely, your own quest to learn it more clearly should make you to get into a standard textbook and work out more problems to get the clarity on the subjects.